right. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Morgen Reynolds, owner of Beyond the Trend Marketing, and I'm here at Coffee, Cocktails, and Capitalism in our lounge at our beautiful scenic studio here in Vero Beach, Florida. So thank you all for being here today. I'm very excited to speak with our guest who has traveled much of the world, has many stories, and has lived, it feels like, many different lives. Yes, in her short time here on Earth. So
that's really kind of you. I like saying I'm just old enough that I've done lots of stuff.
Well, however you add it all up, right? Some people live a whole lifetime and don't maybe have as many stories to tell. So I'm looking forward to hearing her stories. I hope you enjoy them too. This is Jayne Withers.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So Jayne, do you want to just share with people maybe how we met, and then we'll kind of go back to the beginning of where you started in life?
Sure. We met through your lovely husband.
Yes. And what was he doing?
He was helping me out at my British cafe because he's half British.
Yes. He was leaning into his British roots, and he was thrilled about it.
He was, especially the food.
He was so happy.
Yeah.
So Jayne owned a delightful place called Cilantro here in Vero Beach, and British tea house and cafe.
Yeah, it was a cafe and market, and I should be clear that I owned it with my husband, Michael.
Okay, we'll give him credit too. Yes.
Couldn't have done it without him.
Of course not. So, I'd really enjoyed that season of life working with you all, and enjoyed especially, I think, the shepherd's pies and
the beef and Guinness. Yeah, very cool.
The fish and chips, the curry chicken salad, which nobody in this town makes it as good as you guys used to.
That's Michael.
Okay. Well, tell him that I miss it. But anyways, so now you're doing some different things, and you and I keep bumping into each other at the dog park, and you were kind enough to come to our anniversary party. And so I figured, let's sit down and kind of share with everyone what it is that you do, because you have just some really amazing experience in life.
Yeah. And yet the continuing theme, apart from the 7 years when I sort of segued into the restaurant industry because of my husband, I've always been involved in travel. It's always been a big part of my life. Since I was 2, my grandfather worked for British Rail, and he was the assistant station master at our local train station.
Oh, wow.
And from being 2 years old, I would travel with him.
On the train?
On the train.
He would take you?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
And interestingly, my dad worked on the trains as well. He was a stoker back when they had steam trains. And my mum worked in the ticket office, and that's sort of how they met.
Oh, my goodness.
So I truly consider myself to be a railway child. And to this day, I love trains. If I can go on the train instead of taking a car, I would go on the train.
Really?
Yeah. Even the Bright Line. I love the Bright Line.
It is so efficient.
It is.
Yeah. No, it's really wonderful. So tell me what part of England you are from.
I'm from the Northwest.
Okay.
The county of Lancashire. So it used to be much bigger, but then they invented the Greater Manchester County. But Manchester would be the big city that people would know, and also Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And but closer to the coast in an old cotton milling town.
Cotton milling in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And was the train line that they worked on, forgive me, I don't know the British railway system well, was that a cross country? Was that a local? Did that just go into London and back out?
Yeah, it was more up and down. Like nowadays, it's the same train that nowadays would go from London Euston up to Edinburgh.
Okay. So that would have to cross the water.
No.
No.
Just goes straight up over land. I mean, a few rivers and...
Okay. No, all right. I'm not going to get into geography questions because I'll just look really not intelligent.
Well, most people don't know the northwest of England. They might know the Lake District, which is a little further north from where I'm from, because typically, like when people go to Italy for the first time, they do Rome, Florence, Venice. Yes. And then England, it's usually London, Cotswolds, Bath, maybe Oxford, and then up to Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
It isn't Edinburgh, Scotland?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm closer to Scotland than I am to London. Closer to Edinburgh than I am to London.
I mean, I understand that. I grew up in Chicago. We were pretty close to Canada, as the crow flies. So, All right. So you started out on trains, and then how did you get into the travel business yourself?
I studied languages at university, and I mean, just then having the opportunity to travel, at the end of my first year, I went to Cambridge. I was in Egypt because I've gone up to Cambridge to read French and Spanish, and then decided that enough people already spoke French, and I needed to do something different.
Real quick, by the way, I forgot to remind everybody to go back and watch the video where we made today's beverages, which is a French 75. And they're really delicious. So continue. Yes. No French for you.
And so I switched to Spanish and Arabic because there's such an interesting background going back to the years 7-11. That's how I think of 7-11, not the 7-11s we have here.
Right.
It was the year the Moors invaded southern Spain. And, it had such a huge cultural influence. They brought a lot of stuff from the Far East. I know I'm digressing, but
So interesting.
there was this whole sort of academic interest for me, and the fact that it was a very different language. They say there's no such thing as a difficult language. It's about how different it is to the language that you speak.
I mean, that makes sense.
So just switching and doing Arabic really opened up a whole new world for me, a whole culture. I mean, I don't think I could have put most of the Middle East on the map at that point in my life if I hadn't done Arabic, and then appreciated the reach. There's over 20 countries where it's spoken. I mean, it really is amazing.
And this would have been in what year did you start studying?
1981.
1981. So this was well before kind of our, 9/11 and well before internet news, where now maybe more people would understand a little bit better the geography over there and some of the history. So you were way ahead of your time in a lot of ways.
We didn't have computers.
Was there such a world? It was so crazy.
Textbooks and sitting in the corner of the university library.
Did you really fight for your knowledge back then?
You did.
It was not just at your fingertips anytime you needed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really aging myself, but I would try and tune in my radio at night to a French station.
Oh, cool.
Just to listen to an actual French being spoken by real life French people. And just think, now I look at the kids that are studying languages, it's so easy. You should all be fluent.
I have no excuse, I suppose. That's true.
I mean, between TV and internet, it is easy nowadays and much more accessible, just like you said. So at the end of my first year, I went off to Cairo and studied in the language institute there for a month. And that was great. I just loved it. I mean, I know Cairo's changed a lot. I've only been back once in the meantime, but nowadays I just can't imagine. It's apparently like a real road past the pyramids, and whereas it was a distance outside of Cairo back then.
So did you go to the pyramids?
Oh yeah, the first time I ever saw them was by the light of a full moon. Absolutely beautiful. Also, stayed up all night because I was 19. You could do that then,
right?
And watch the sunrise over the pyramids, and just lovely.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you ride a camel?
I did. I actually have pictures.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, this would have been, summer 1982. So then I carried on my second year because I still get confused with the junior, senior. It's all different.
Yeah, it's blend, yeah.
My third year, usually you'll spend your third year abroad. And I didn't have wealthy parents, so I couldn't go off to Jordan or Kuwait and do a university course over there for a year. I had to get a job that would pay me. And the only thing that I could find, because I knew someone who'd done it, was I went to teach English in the Sudan for a year at a government school.
Interesting.
With one of my friends from Cambridge. So off we went. And it was, great when we got there. I mean, Africa, yet still Middle East, sort of, but with Arabic. But, the South is very much not Arab. And the civil war was still going on. It was at more of a lull at that point. But it breaks my heart that to this day, so many years later, that war's still going on. But I worked, first of all, we all sort of landed in Khartoum, and then they sent us off to our respective posts. And I was posted to Kassala on the Ethiopian border. And it's very verdant, really unusual for Africa because they're that part of Africa. And then after a while, I was transferred up to Port Sudan on the Red Sea, which was a great experience. It gets very hot in summer.
Yep.
But, living on the Red Sea, having those opportunities.
So you were still teaching at the time. Okay. Yeah.
In a girls' school.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have about 80 girls in each class.
80? 80?
80.
That's a
with
lot.
one textbook between 4 girls.
Wow. Why was there such a shortage?
Lack of money.
Well, did you say that this was through kind of government posts? So all their parents were in the government in some way?
Oh, no, it was a government-run school.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was just for local children.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Now, certain tribes in the Sudan are very tall. There's one from the south called Dinka. Apparently, the world's tallest man who was a basketball player over here was a Dinka. And I had a couple of Dinka girls. Now, at 5'4.5", and I'm very proud of the half.
Yes. Oh, hold on to that.
Oh, it was just funny to be surrounded by people who were way taller than me. And yet try to, be authoritative.
Right. Yes. Did you have to kind of yell up into the atmosphere?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But they would all be tickled whenever I wrote in Arabic on the blackboard.
Oh, yeah.
Do they still have blackboards nowadays? I don't know.
Less so. It's been a while since I've been in a school. It's probably mostly whiteboards and computers. Yeah. So you did that for how long?
That was a year.
Okay.
And then I went back to Cambridge for my senior year. And I went to see the careers counsellor. And he was like, languages, you need to go into international banking. I mean, why didn't he tell me to go and do an MBA in hospitality management or, something interesting?
Yeah.
So I graduated, went to work in a bank and absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I left. Back then, people had only just started doing MBAs. I mean, now it's like practically every other person has to want to get a decent job in management. But they just weren't around. There weren't a lot of business schools.
Right.
And so companies would have their own graduate trainee programs. So I did the banks and I left the day the program ended. It was 2 years to the day that I started.
Wow.
I did a stint at a friend's antique shop in Mayfair, which was okay, but I know nothing about art history or anything like that. A little bit about Islamic history, funnily enough. And then one day I was walking down the high street of the part of London where I lived. And also, back in the olden days, remember when we had like travel agencies would have storefronts? Recruitment agencies would too. And I saw this sign, this publishing company, and I thought, that looks interesting. Let me go in. So I did. I went in and got the job. And
what was the job?
It was for a freight newspaper selling advertising.
That's hilarious.
But they gave me a company car, and they're like, "Oh, you speak French? You can have France."
Well, sure.
You speak Arabic. Oh, you can have the Middle East. So, I actually did end up going to Dubai in 1989, another place that's completely changed now because it's so hot and trendy. And back then, I think there were 2 high rises. And I'd go to France regularly, taking my company car, which of course had a right-hand drive, and I'd be on the same side of the road as here. It was
messy. Yeah. So that's super interesting. So, you were able to travel and sell. You had to go visit people in person, I guess, to sell the advertising.
Ports and suppliers to the freight industry.
How interesting.
And then I decided to, I sort of been there, done that after a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And the gal from the recruitment agency, Kathy, had moved on, and she was working for a publishing company that did in-cabin magazines for cruise ships in the Caribbean. It was all terribly glamorous. But she hated the woman she worked for. As a modern, I can kind of deal with, people that I don't really like and still work for them if I have to. And I really wanted out of my other job. So I said, well, maybe I can be a replacement because she'd given a notice.
Oh, yeah.
And Kathy and I both have birthdays in January.
Okay. So she's also a Capricorn?
Yes. So we had this joint birthday party in a pub in Chiswick, London. And we hired this double-decker bus to transport everybody from my car and the pub.
That's amazing. How many people did?
I think I'm the only person that I know that actually has ever done that. So I didn't even know.
Did you fill it? Did you have enough people?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We threw great parties. Oh. So Kathy's soon-to-be ex-boss was at the party. Her name's also Jayne, and I had the hiccups. Because you might have had
Okay.
one or two G&Ts too.
One or two. Yes. Okay.
Or just the whole excitement of the whole thing. And I met Jayne and she had me in for an interview and I got the job. And within 2 months, I was in the Cayman Islands.
Oh my goodness.
And then Jayne left and took a lot of company records with her. Well, at that point,
Scandalous.
I could remember everything. I had a practically photographic memory.
Oh my gosh.
So by then the company had moved me to live in St. Martin because they closed the London office and said, if you want a job, you've got to move to St. Martin.
Okay.
Well, it was February 1991. It was snowing. The London Underground was closed. London doesn't handle snow very well.
Right.
My boyfriend of 4 years had just dumped me.
Oh
my mortgage rate had doubled to 15%. And I thought, let me just go and do this for a couple of years and then I'll come back.
Yeah.
So off I trotted to St. Martin. Jayne left, stole all the company records.
I mean, did she literally walk out with like a Rolodex, like in the movies?
Or whatever we had back then. Files. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because she kept all the files. They weren't kept in the office.
Mm.
And they had me come up to Miami for 2 weeks to help out and see what I could piece together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. Been here ever since.
Oh my gosh. That was you coming to America.
That was June the 24th, 1991.
So where is St. Martin, for those that don't know?
It's in the Antilles. It's a really interesting island because it's half Dutch and half French. So being a Britain was still part of the EU, I got French residency. That was really easy. And it's great because of its proximity to other islands. I'd go to Anguilla every month. I'd go to St. Bart's every month. I'd travel through Puerto Rico all the time.
Yeah.
It's just a fun place to be because you had the mixture of the two cultures, and on the Dutch side, a bit of an American influence as well. You know, it was already growing as a cruise port at that point.
I mean, I think that would be fascinating, that kind of blend of cultures.
It is.
And how they can all kind of live together on an island like that.
And I actually ended up going back in 2002 until 2005.
Oh, okay. Did another little stint there. Okay.
And covered much of the southern and eastern Caribbean.
With the same company?
No, by then I'd moved on to another company.
Okay. But doing something similar?
Well, by then I was a publisher. American Eagle used to have an in-flight magazine called Latitudes, and I was a publisher of that.
American Eagle, an airline?
Yeah. They do all the commuter flights for American Airlines.
Okay.
So they had a hub in San Juan, and you could fly to practically any destination in the Caribbean from there. And then from Miami, they covered all of the Bahamas.
Okay. Yeah. See, when somebody says American Eagle, unfortunately, my generation thinks of the clothing store.
Clothing,
so
yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. So how did you get from publishing to restaurateuring?
So I started to have some health issues. I'm a really small frame. My mum and my grandma both had osteoporosis, and I got diagnosed with osteopenia when I was young, about 20 years ago.
Mm.
And I realized that, well, reading my book.
Yeah,
It's not obliged to.
no, but it's exciting. Good for you.
Back then, that was a different time of my life.
What is it called?
Mile High and Healthy.
All right. So everybody go check this out or come by our office and pick one up. So yes, you talk about that in the book?
Yeah, because, you know, my life looked great on the outside. Excuse me. And, you know, I was traveling a lot, but I was also skipping meals.
Yeah.
I smoked a little bit in my 20s, but dinner could literally be some chips and a glass of wine.
It's really hard to have a schedule when you're traveling, even the little bit that I do or Ed does, right? I understand that. So if you're doing it constantly, you can't imagine.
Well, I'm much stricter now. I'm sort of learned to put me first. And I do continue my workout routine, which now, thanks to the wonders of computers, I can do.
Right.
But so I'd started doing Pilates back in 1998, but classical Pilates with someone who was trained in New York.
And using all the machines and things like that. Okay. Yeah.
And I loved it. So I left publishing just to sort of focus on my health and just try and regroup. Took sort of a sabbatical. Went and lived in New York City, studied classical Pilates, studied integrative nutrition and health coaching. Eventually also did vegan cooking. Even though I'm not vegan, it doesn't work for me.
Right.
But I like to say plant forward. That's a new phrase.
Yes. No, that's great.
We're plant forward.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then came back to Florida and I had a Pilates studio up in the Atlantic and I had one here on Royal Palm Point. At that same time, because I'd been in travel and I'd taken all these coaching courses, I started to work with companies that had mobile workforces to keep them healthy on the road.
Okay.
And worked with some consulting companies in New York. My claim to fame is speaking at NASA.
And that is very exciting.
Completely messed up my paperwork, even though I'd submitted everything and I was going to run late. So they had me park in an astronaut spot. That's like my big claim to fame.
I mean, that's a pretty big achievement, I would say.
Yeah, I still have a picture of my car in.
That's great.
And well, the other funny part of that was I had 150, space engineers basically, and my goal was to make them laugh, which thankfully I managed to do. But they asked the wildest questions of any audience I've ever had, I must say.
I believe that.
So I did that, but then COVID hit, and I'd gone through a divorce that lasted forever, and during that time, the Pilates studio closed. It just wasn't viable for me to continue in a joint ownership situation.
Yeah.
And I'd met my husband, Michael, and we were at the Boulevard first, we landed at Cafe. And then we went,
where was that?
The Boulevard Tennis Club.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because what happened was as I was doing the health coaching, people don't want to cook, which always seems really alien to me. I'm in that world. So we started doing healthy prepared meals, and that just sort of grew. And we ended up with a restaurant where we could sell those and still, service the customers at the club. But it wasn't a real good fit for us. It's a wonderful place, and I know that Counterculture did a fantastic job there. But we moved on to McKee Botanical Garden, and that was great. That was a really good fit.
Yeah.
And that was where I started serving afternoon tea.
Oh, beautiful. That makes sense.
Yeah. A lovely setting for it. But then again, along came COVID and we'd just taken the lease on the spot on 6th Avenue.
Okay.
So we were like, what are we going to do with our lives now?
Yeah.
I can keep my consultancy going because everybody was grounded.
Right.
So we went back to the prepared meals and we did curbside. We did deliver it all over town.
Wow.
We branched out we did vegan, we did keto, we did paleo. And then we started doing like comfort food because that's what people wanted.
It dragged on. Yeah. Right. People were over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
And then cilantro, as you knew it, evolved. I mean, we didn't set out to have a British cafe. That was never part of our plan. But people kept asking us to do the tea. And then, Clearly shepherd's pie. Oh, we should get this. And it just happened.
Is there a fairly large British population here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really shocked me because I had maps mounted on foam board. And if you were from Britain, you got to put your pin in. And I thought, there'll be 5 others. That map, I still have it, is full.
Wow.
It had one of Scotland, one of Ireland, and one of England and Wales.
So kind of that whole UK health. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was amazing. And people loved it. They loved coming and putting their pin in and show it where they were from.
Well, it's exciting always to feel like you connect with someone, right? To find that commonality. And, you know, there's always that kinship when you're in a foreign land. You know, I know Ed appreciates whenever he runs into somebody that's either from one side of his heritage or the other. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny that I've not been able to let that map go.
It's a nice memory. It's a nice reminder of how you guys kind of brought that community together, which is great. And I bet a lot of those people are still friends and still connected because of having that moment where they could, you know, that's what they say about food, right? It brings people together.
It brings everyone together. It really does. And it is nice that people have reached out and friended me on Facebook. I still have Cilantro's Facebook page. I still post.
Okay, yeah.
I see something fun and British or, you know.
I've seen like some recipes or you'll be doing like a special delivery for someone or.
Yeah. I did last week for St. Patrick's Day. I posted our shepherd's pie recipe. I put it in Vera Beach neighborhood as well, actually. I thought, let me give the recipe to become.
How did I miss that? It's a good thing I didn't see it, or that's what I'd be cooking this week. You know, some of those dishes are a lot of work.
Yes, if you do them right.
Yes.
Because a couple of people were surprised when they read the shepherd's pie recipe and the potatoes and you know, like we put egg yolks in it. That was why the potatoes tasted so nice and fluffy. It wasn't just the butter and the cream.
Right. Well, I finally kind of am learning now at the age of whatever I am in my 40s that the layering of food really does make a difference.
Yeah.
It is subtle, though, and you can kind of rush the flavors if you have to, but it's better if you can take your time and kind of add all the different layers and the ingredients in the time that they're supposed to be added and let it all kind of gestate the way it's supposed to.
I'm a huge proponent of that. And people make that mistake all the time when they.
Yeah, what was it you were telling me about the onions the other day?
Jayne and her onions, and it's really funny.
This wasn't the dog part. This is what we're talking about.
So I can still reach out to some of the younger staff that we had that I trained, and one of them texted me the other day. I said, you know, was I nuts over the onions? And she wrote back and said, no, I still do them that way. You know, we try and do everything too fast, but there's a brilliant book of Indian food called by Madhur Jaffrey. It's fantastic. I've had my copy since I was 18.
Oh my God.
Oh, and it's got...
You've carried it all around.
I have carried it around with me. I will not be partaking on that book. Although I have other Indian cookbooks now. But she says in the introduction, you know, you cook them on the lowest heat for a long time until they're transparent and starting to go a little gold around the edges. And then they also serve as a thickening agent. People don't do that. I look at these recipes and they're, saute the onions till they're soft, about 3 minutes. I mean, that's such utter nonsense. And it's the same with Italian cooking. I remember watching Anne Burrell once, and she was saying how she used to take 3 days to make a ragu.
Wow.
Because when she went to the cooking school she went to in Italy, she was, or the place where she ended up working, she was chastised for trying to rush through this process. But it goes back to what you were saying about layering. People just don't do it.
I know. You can only do so much. So anyways, after cilantro, tell us about your next iteration of life.
Right. So the one that I'm currently in.
Yes.
So Michael had some health issues and I just couldn't go on running that place on my own. I mean, I was exhausted. Plus, I've been in travel most of my life.
Yeah.
And I was born to travel, clearly.
I
was like, just get me back.
You're getting a little stir crazy, I bet. Yeah.
And I met Autumn Martin at HR Dynamic over here somewhere.
Okay.
Recruitment agency. And she said, well, you know, there's a job here. I'm not sure it's for you, but it is, you know, it's with a travel agency. There's a couple that own it. And I said, well, let me at least, let me try. And it wasn't an aspect of travel that I've been in before. But
why was it?
I'm just working for a travel agency, but luxury travel. Because if you're going to working travel, work in luxury travel.
Right.
Seriously. That would be why I say to all aspiring travel advice. Don't consider the other stuff too luxury.
Yes.
And I met with the owners and absolutely loved them. And it seemed that my background might be a good fit. Just because, from the restaurant, I knew a lot of people that were into food and culinary travels on the go, and my interest in wellness and having so many contacts from my Pilates studios, wellness travel was the obvious thing for me. And here I am. It'll be 2 years in June.
Wow, 2 years already.
And they're up in Sebastian.
Oh, nice. So they're local too.
They're local too.
Yeah. So what, tell me how the wellness factors into kind of the travel planning.
It's the fastest, or one of the fastest growing facets of travel at the moment. I think part of that is because of COVID, people started to take better care of themselves. And just an awareness. When I was starting out at doing my travel wellness consulting, a lot of companies didn't seem to care.
Right.
It was almost, stress was like a badge that you wore proudly.
It still is in most industries in
America.
Yeah.
You worked for one of those consultancies where, they just run you absolutely ragged. But that was part of the job. You got paid a lot of money for it. But, now people are starting to realize you don't have to travel like that. From a professional point of view, if it's business travel, that you can look after your employees and invest in them. And guess what? They'll produce more if you don't have them leaving at 4 a.m. flights or because you don't want to let them get into the destination the night before because you don't want to pay for a hotel room.
Right.
It was the little things like that, but there were little things that added up a lot. And then on the personal travel side, yes, people starting to want to either continue their wellness regime while they're traveling or wanting to go and actually have a full-blown wellness vacation. And that's what we call soft wellness travel and hard wellness travel. Soft wellness travel might be that you and Ed would go on vacation, but but you specify that you want a really, really top-notch spa, and you might. Well, we know he's going to be in pickleball. He's pickleball.
No rest and relaxation for that one.
No,
I'll be at the spa while you're playing.
Yeah, at the spa, but you want a good spa, and you don't want a workout room that's down at the end of the corridor or in the dungeon, and that might have a great view.
Or maybe they have more organic food there, or there's healthier choices. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And now so that's soft wellness travel. Hard wellness travel is something like what I'm doing in September. I have to plug this because it's
do share
public service. I'm taking a group to Euphoria Holistic Wellness Retreat in southern Greece, and that Peloponnese Peninsula, but you can't drink lots of Frank 75s and say that.
No, you cannot. I don't think you can drink one and say that.
Yeah. So, and those places are fully immersive. Some are really strict. Some like, there's one in Italy whose name's just escaping me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they're no caffeine and no alcohol.
Okay.
And then you've got places like Euphoria, where I'm going, and yes, I still got 2 rooms left, where they have a full bar. They have meat on the menu.
Right.
So people who aren't as into it can still go there and have a 5-star experience, but they have their own forest to go hiking in. And the restaurant serves Mediterranean diet, locally sourced ingredients. The spa is the most spectacular thing you've ever seen in your life.
Wow.
It really is wonderful. I fell in love with the place, and I just said, I've got to come back. I have to come back, and I have to share this with the world. So we're going.
That's amazing. So is the trip, is there kind of daily agendas? Is it more free flow once you're there? How does that work?
We have a suggested agenda. I mean, people don't have to do everything. It's really nice. We stay in Athens the night before. I'm doing a welcome cocktail and hors d'oeuvres. And then the next morning, we drive down to Mistras, which is an old Byzantine towns.
Byzantine?
Well, so
You would say like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're stopping in Nemea, which is a wine growing area. So we're visiting two wineries and having lunch at one of them.
Fantastic.
And then the next day is all spa.
Wow.
Or whatever people want to do.
Right.
And then we have an excursion up to the coast and then another spa day. And then we have a spa day, but with a lunch farm to table cooking class. And then another spa day.
Wow.
And another spa day.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. And then we come home. Okay. I mean, I would be well and truly relaxed and not wanting to work by the time I got back from all that. That sounds amazing.
It was life-changing for me. I know that sounds so corny when you think about all the things that I've done. But I was kind of getting off track. Being in the restaurant for so many years and then going back to my old habits that had given me health problems in the first place where I wasn't eating properly. Or, lunch would be leftover tea sandwiches.
Yeah.
You can't eat so many of those. But to actually be somewhere where they were I love the Mediterranean diet. I've always loved it. It's not fatty. It's real food. And that totally got me back into it. And that's how I eat now.
Yeah.
All the time. And I lost 20 pounds just by eating real food.
I think there's really, people say this, but I guess maybe I've not heard it as much recently, but there's nothing like detaching yourself from your norm to really give yourself a chance to reset.
Yeah.
Right? Like whether it's a mental break, where you can just kind of reassess and say, oh, am I getting off track? Am I doing what I want to be doing? How could I maybe readjust and, be enjoying what I'm doing more? And then, to physically reset too, if you do something kind of immersive.
That's what's great about these trips. And it really did help me. It got me back on track. It got me eating the food that I like. And started, meditating again, which I'd been doing when I was going through my divorce. It really helped me. And just taking some mental time. And as I said earlier, starting to put me first.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Yeah. I think it's just human nature to need to reset your routines and your mind because we've got so many people and pressures and things influencing us on a daily basis. And, for somebody who is maybe recovering people pleaser, as they call it, right? You want to say yes, you want to help, and sometimes
my husband can tell you all about that.
Yeah.
From my
right. Well, I think a lot of times, especially for women, but men too, right? Especially if you're in a service industry or sales or something, right? You're just giving. You have to have a reset. Yeah.
And that's really largely what people come to me for. Yeah, I just need to get away. I want somewhere where they're going to tell me what to eat, when to work out. And I try to steer them to places that will keep in touch with them after and not just take their money and put them through some.
Oh, that's interesting. So there's kind of some ongoing programs that you could stay in touch with.
Carillon down in Miami, Carillon Wellness Hotel, they're great. I was there last May. They do a wonderful job. Great facility. They've actually got an indoor climbing wall, and their workout room overlooks Miami Beach. Is cool.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's handy for here actually, people who want to.
Easy to just hop down there. Yeah,
but they do. You can set yourself up to have telephone conferences, etc.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I do think that's become more common at some of the larger spas that you can kind of enroll in a program and there can be ongoing touch points and things like that.
You've got to be given the tools, otherwise what you're doing, it takes more than a week to change a habit. You just got to be careful that you're not going to slip back to what I aimed for.
Yeah.
And that you truly are given the tools. And that's why I think healthy cooking classes are so handy. I try and, my coaching clients, I try and teach them to batch cook, for example. And I still do that on a Sunday where I'll make one or two healthy dishes. But the secret, so that you're not eating the same thing all the time, you get a friend to do the same. Ideally, you get 2 friends or even 3 friends to do the same. You portion everything out and then you swap. And then you've got varied dishes.
Yes. That's genius, actually.
So that works great.
Mm-hmm.
Because even I can only, I mean, today, what did I make? Oh, I've got a barley mushroom risotto at the moment, and I'm going on tour. It's amazing. But I've eaten it 5 times because I forgot to tell my friend to come over and get some.
Oh, I see. Yes.
But it's because I'm going away this weekend. Yeah. So the New York Times has a whole section of Mediterranean diet recipes. And I've started working my way through them. There's about 64.
Okay.
All doable.
Okay. In like online or okay.
New York Times cooking on the app.
Well, yeah, I kind of get into my ruts, but I do have kind of some like healthy staples, and I've figured out that it's one shopping list, and from that shopping list I can make about 6 different
That's great.
dishes and just kind of rotate the ingredients with different sauces or cook them differently or whatever, and that kind of works well for us, especially during the work week, to try to not eat out as much. But yes, I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I can figure this out or do this on my own, or yes, everything is online. You can always find it there, but we're all only human and we can all only make so many decisions in a day. And sometimes it's helpful to just have somebody else tell you, hey, this would be a great option for you. Or, hey, have you tried this? So,
well, that's why Michael and I are starting our own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, it will look like it's called Half and Half.
Okay.
Which is going to be half and half.
I don't get it.
Because I'm English and I say half.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course.
And it's going to be half cook and half out.
Oh, cute.
Because we want to show people how to make these dishes. We've taught so many cooking classes. And he's really good at it. Really good at just simplifying everything.
Yeah.
Giving people great hints. Wow. So we're hoping to launch that within the next couple of months.
Fantastic.
And let people see that it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and it can be enjoyable too, right? Sometimes I don't always want to cook after a long day at work, but there are days where it's kind of therapeutic, right? To just let yourself be creative and focus on something different and let your brain wander a little bit. Yeah. So where can people find you to book their next trip or come with you to Greece or get some great recipes?
Well, I'm on social media as Jayne Withers Travel and Wellness on Facebook, and then Jayne Travels on Instagram and TikTok, which I promise to do more of. Just my trip to Ireland next week.
Oh,
yeah. I should have some great video. And ILX Travel, International Luxury Experiences Travel.com, ILX Travel.com.
Okay, perfect.
And we have Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and LinkedIn, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. So follow Jayne on all the social media and think about where you might like to go in the world and get a little healthier. And we will look forward to seeing more from you via your podcast soon.
Thank you. And I promise I'll bring food next time.
Oh my gosh. Then we would really just be here all afternoon munching into our microphones. But yes, maybe dinner with the hubby soon. That would be great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
It has been fun. Cheers, my friends.
Cheers.
To the next, whatever's next, right?
Whatever's next. Ireland next week. Costa Rica.
Riviera. Okay. Oh my gosh.
And then
I'm so jealous. Stop talking. Where am I going? Home. All right. Cheers, everyone. See you next time.